All right, so here's a review for your Trig exam coming up to do with angles, SOHCAHTOA, and the unit circle. So find the measure of each angle that you see here. The first thing I look at is what direction we're going. We're going clockwise, which means it's a negative angle. And I count how many rotations. So 1 rotation, and I can just keep track here. 2 rotations. So we have 1, we have 2, and that's it. 2 times, then negative 180, and then the last bit is negative 85. If you want to use your calculator, you can add them up without the negative signs and just make it negative at the end. And if you do that, I think it's negative 985, according to my answer key. Number 2, what direction are we going here? Again, we're going in a negative direction. So 1 rotation, that's negative 360. Keep going, that's negative 180. Keep going to the top, that's negative 90. And then after that, I have 75 on this side. This adds up to 90, so the angle here, which is what I need, must be 15, so they add up to 90. So this little angle after 90 is negative 15. And then add that up, and you should get negative 645. What direction are we going here? So we're going clockwise, counterclockwise. It's a positive angle. So I see 180 plus 30 more. So that's 210. For number 4, again, we're going a negative direction. We're not going a full. So right here I see negative 180. And then from here I see negative 160. Those are the ones I'm going to add up together. So that's negative 340. Number 5. Can you draw an angle? So what direction are we going? So we're going in a negative direction, which is clockwise. Notice it's beyond 1 rotation. So if I add 360 to that, I still have to go negative 30 more after the 1 rotation. So I'm going to calculate negative 30. That's where negative 30 is. They're coterminal. I know it's getting blurry. So again, you count 30 degrees clockwise. We're in quadrant number 4. And then when you measure it, that's where you end. And make sure you go in a counterclockwise direction. 495. Again, I'm going to subtract 360 to see what's excuse me, what's coterminal. 135. So I find angle 135, which is in the middle of quadrant number 2. I'm going to go counterclockwise. I'm going to show 1 rotation, and then that's where I end. And that's the angle 495. To find the reference angle, we're either going to use 360 or 180, whichever one's closer to that angle. So 360 take away 20. The reference angle here is 40. Here, we're going to use 180. We can use positive 180. It's always written as a positive angle. So using positive 180 or positive 360, what's the difference there? And the angle is 10 degrees is the reference angle. For number 9, if it's in radians, and it's a special radian that would be on our unit circle, the denominator tells you. So the denominator tells you that's the reference angle. Here, the denominator tells you that's the reference angle if it's a special angle on the unit circle. State the quadrant that we're in. So knowing the unit circle, right, this is in quadrant number 3. Knowing the unit circle, this is in quadrant number 4. Here, this is not a special angle, so we'd have to count around. So if you want to visualize it, 90, 180, 270. It's past 270, so this is quadrant number 4. Negative ones, it's good to visualize, so going in a clockwise direction, negative 90, negative 180, keep going, so it's in quadrant number 2 in terms of it. How do you convert each to decimals, degree measurements, to DMS form? So as a decimal, we're going to take that decimal and multiply it times 60. So again, take your calculator, 0.2775 times 60. Then take that decimal that you still have, multiply it by 60. So just 0.65 times 60. And then those are the numbers you get. So it's 320 degrees. It's 16 minutes and 39 seconds. And there's your answer. For number 16, again, just the decimal. First, multiply it times 60. So 0.1025 times 60. Take the decimal, multiply it times 60. And then you get 44 degrees, 6 minutes, and 9 seconds. How about the other direction? What do? So I take the minutes and I divide it by 60. I take the seconds and I divide it by 3600. And then write down the decimal. So 7 divided by 60. I'm going to round it. 12 divided by 3600. And then add those two together. So 0.1167 plus 0.0033. I get 0.112. So 336.12 when I add those together. So again, 24 minutes, divide by 60, and get an answer. Take 27 seconds and divide by 3600. And then add these together. I can see what it is when you add it together because there's nothing in the 10th spot, so it'd just be 4075 or 408 or 41, and that would be your angle. All right, how do you convert from degrees to radians? As you multiply it by pi over 180. You can use your calculator. And you get 43 pi over 36. Again, you're going to multiply by pi over 180. If these are special angles, then you should be able to do it by memory, but they're not. 29 pi over 18. How do you go the other direction? How do you go from radians to degrees? Is you do the reciprocal to convert it. So it's 180 over pi. That's 15. Again, this one's special, so you should know it. 7 pi over 6 directly converts to 210 degrees. Some SOHCAHTOA questions. Find the value of the trig function indicated. So I want to know what sine theta equals in this triangle. So I know that I need to know the opposite side. You can call it O or X. And then I need to use the Pythagorean theorem. So that's x squared plus 10 squared equals 12 squared. So that's 144, take away 100. And then the square root of that. And you get the answer. Haha. The square root of 44, which is 2 root 11. Then, to find sine, you can write down SOHCAHTOA. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So 2 root 11 over 12, and 2 goes in 12 6 times. So it ends up being root 11 over 6. I know, the camera's kind of going in and out. All right, number 24. So I see where the angle is. This is adjacent over hypotenuse, so I need to know the hypotenuse. So that's going to be 15 squared plus 20 squared. And then you have to solve that. You can use your calculator if you want. This will, I think it's a Pythagorean triplet. 225 and 400. Take the square root and it's 25. It's a Pythagorean triplet when all three sides of the triangle are rational numbers. So I think the hypotenuse is 25. So then adjacent over hypotenuse, and then reduce it down, divide by 5, and you get 3 over 5. Number 25. Oops, there's 25. For this one, we need to draw a triangle. I know I didn't give you a lot of room here, so I'm sorry. So we're going to draw a triangle. Label theta in one of the corners. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. I need to find this missing side. I'm just going to call it x. So that's x squared plus 15 squared equals 17 squared. And then you have to solve that. So I'm going to use my calculator. It's not a Pythagorean triplet. So 17 squared, take away 15 squared, is 64. Maybe it is a triplet. And then the square root of that is 8. So I think it is a triplet because they all are rational. So I get the side length here to be 8. I should know that. And then tangent is opposite over adjacent. So the answer for tangent is 8 over 15. (26). I'm going to kind of use the column a bit too here. So again, I'm going to draw a triangle. I'm going to label it cosecant. Its partner is sine, which is opposite over hypotenuse. So the opposite side in the hypotenuse in terms of the definition of it. And then we need to find this missing side. And so we use the Pythagorean theorem. So this is 81 take away 25. I'm going to use my calculator. 81 take away 25. That's 56. And then the square root of 56. So I get 2 root 14 as the missing side. And then cosecant, I'm looking for cosine, which is adjacent, which is 2 root 14, over the hypotenuse, which is 9. And there's your answer. All right, 27. Can you find the missing side or missing angle here? So for this one, we start with the angle inside the triangle and circle it. And then recognize that what I'm looking for is the adjacent side. I'm trying to get the camera focused here. Why not, right? Anyways, we'll figure it out. And then what I also know is the hypotenuse. So which trig ratio uses adjacent and hypotenuse? And so it's cosine and adjacent over hypotenuse, and then I solve it. So I multiply by 9 and then use my calculator. So it's 9 times cosine 36. Try my other calculator. That one's in radians. 9 times cosine 36. And I get 7.281. 28. Circle the angle. 7 is adjacent, and x is the hypotenuse. This again is going to be cosine. And it's 7 over x. Because the variable's in the denominator, they switch. So you're going to go 7 divided by cosine 50.1, and then get your answer. That's 10.913. Or 10.9. Number 29. We're finding missing sides again. You know what I'm going to do? I wanted you to have an example where you were finding a missing angle, so you had practice with that. So this is what I'm going to do. It's okay if you did this, but I'm going to change it. Is that okay? So if you watch the video, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to put a number here. So I'm going to put a number 18 here, and I want you to do this with me. Can you find this angle with me instead of the question that was asked on the paper? Because I didn't mean that. I want you to practice finding missing sides and finding missing angles. So if I want to find angle B, 12 is adjacent, 18 is hypotenuse. And to find a missing angle, we use the inverse. So adjacent over hypotenuse is cosine, but it's the inverse, and then the ratio goes inside, and then use your calculator. And I get 48.18990 degrees. Let's try that again. I'm going to change the question. I'm going to scratch this out. I'm going to put a number here where x is. I'm just going to give it a number. I just came up with that number. Can you tell me what that angle is using these side lengths? So if I look at B, this is opposite over adjacent. That's tangent. So if I want to find the missing here, it's inverse tangent when finding a missing angle, and then the ratio goes inside. And then solve it. And you get 34 degrees. I gotta be careful what time. It's a Wednesday today, 9:47. Oh, I still got time. Okay, so it's about 34 degrees, 0.02. All right, given a point, can you find sine theta? So x is -4, y is 3. The radius, we have a formula. It's the square root of x squared plus y squared. So if you do that, the radius is 5. And then sine is y over r. That's 3 over 5, and you have your answer. For 32, we have the same point. But this is how you would find the radius, whatever the point would be that you're given. And then secant, by definition, its partner is cosine. So it's the flip of cosine. So I take the x, it's the radius over the x. It would be 1 over x if it was on the unit circle. But the radius is not 1. It's not a unit circle. So the radius over x. So in this case, that would be 5 over 4, over -4. All right, find the exact value of these. Now here's a good example. Here's a question where it's way larger than the unit circle. So for this one, I would subtract 360 and first find a coterminal angle between 0 and 360. So if I do that, that's 240. And that's the one I'm going to use. So the reference angle at 240, subtract 180, is 60 degrees. The point at 60 degrees is 1/2 and root 3 over 2. 240 is in quadrant number 3. So both the x and the y are both negative. Cosine goes with the x coordinate. So this answer is -1/2. We're going to do the same thing here. For this one, we're going to go right to 720 and subtract. So we have a coterminal angle between 0 and 360. So that's 300 degrees. Next, find the reference angle for 300. That again is 60. So we just did that, 1/2 and root 3 over 2. Next, what quadrant is 300 in? And 300 is in quadrant number 4. So that means x is positive and y is negative. Sine goes with the y coordinate. So the answer is -root 3 over 2. Number 35. 5 pi over 2 is not a reference angle. But what I'm going to do first is I want to convert it. So 5 pi over 2, if I convert it, times 180 over pi. 2 goes into 180, 90, so it's 5 times 90. And then I'm going to subtract 360 to find the coterminal angle between 0 and 360. So that angle is 90 degrees. That's what I'm looking for. So 90 degrees is at the top of the unit circle. So the point that goes with 90 is 0, 1. That's exactly the same. And then cosine is the x-coordinate. So the answer here is 0. For number 36, negative 5 pi over 4. So I know it's over 4, so it's 45 degrees. That's root 2 over 2 and root 2 over 2. What quadrant are we in? So in terms of being negative, it's negative pi over 4, it's negative 3 pi over 4, and it's negative 5 pi over 4, going clockwise. We're in quadrant number 2. That means x is negative, y is positive. Cosecant's partner is sine. So you take the y-coordinate and you flip it. So the y-coordinate is positive, and then if you multiply by root 2, you get 2 root 2 over 2. The 2's crossed out, and you have your answer, root 2. All right, last page. These are some stories. Bob is standing from the... Oh, there he is. Bob is standing 20 feet from the base of a tower. So there's my tower. There's Bob, and he's standing 20 feet from the base of that tower. The angle of elevation to the top is 32 degrees. So that's 32 degrees. And it says, what's the height of the tower? So looking at the angle, it's opposite over adjacent. So we write down tangent. And then solve it. So we're going to multiply by 20 and then use our calculator. And that gives me 12.497 feet. It's a short tower. Sitting in a treehouse. So sitting in a treehouse that is 15 meters above the ground. You spot a cat on the ground, and the angle of elevation, depression, to the cat is 18 degrees. That's this angle. So we can either subtract 90, or this angle here, down here, would also match it because of parallel lines. So either way, subtract or use 18 down here. How far away is the cat from the base of the tree? So again, it's opposite over adjacent. That's tangent. Switch sheety, switch, and then use your calculator. And that's 46.165. So the cat is 46.165 meters away from the base of the tree. 39. Stand on a cliff 100 feet. You spot 2 cars below. The angle to the first car, and these are angle of depressions, is 18. So this angle is 18. So I'm going to find this distance to begin with. So again, it's going to be tangent 18 is equal to 100 over x. So x is equal to 100 divided by tangent 18. I'm not going to do that yet. My calculator. The other one to the other car, the angle is 23. So if that's 23, this angle here is 23. That means from here to here, I'm going to label y. So from here to here will be y, and I'm going to use 23 degrees. So it's the same setup. It says 23, but this is y now. And then the answer I'm looking for is what's the distance between them, is I take the y value and I subtract the x value, so that in one step you could get the answer. So I take the y value, subtract the x value, and that will give me the answer. So 100 divided by tangent 23, subtract 100 divided by tangent 18. What did I do wrong? Oh, I know what I did wrong. So, in terms of the angle of depression, this car here is actually 23, and this car here is actually 18. I just drew it really poorly. So this, the shorter angle, is the one further away. The bigger angle is the one closer. So you got a negative answer. So this should be 18, and this should be 23. So let's try again. So 100, I think it's going to be the same answer but positive. 100 divided by tangent 18, subtract 100 divided by tangent 23. Yeah, so it's about 72. So the answer is they're 72 feet apart. And you'd write a sentence about it. Let's try this one. Standing 28 feet from a very tall tree, you spot two chipmunks. Here's one, there's the other. The angle of elevation to one, so here I am here. So you have one chipmunk, so that's 50. Then you're standing 28 feet away. So I want to know that height to begin with. I'll call it x. Again, we're going to use tangent. The angle is 50 degrees, and it's opposite over adjacent. So there's one answer. Again, you're going to switch these. So it is, actually you're going to multiply by 28, sorry. So there's one answer. 28 times tangent 50. Just let it go for now. And then the one to the top, we're going to call y to the top, and that angle is 60. So the same setup, just with 60. So when I multiply by 28, now I have the two that I need. So this one's above this one. What's the difference between them? How far apart are they? Take this number, subtract this number, and use your calculator. And the answer is 15.128, in this case, feet. So that's how far apart it is. So I took this number, subtract this number, and that was my answer. All right, last one here. A circle has a radius of 14 and a central angle of 57. This just, do you remember the formulas? So for arc, it's the radius times the angle. For area, it's 1/2 the radius squared times the angle, and it has to be in radians. So for the first one, it'd be 14 times 57, but it needs to be pi over 180. The second one's going to be 1/2 14 squared, and again, instead of 57, it's pi over 180, and then use your calculator. And this is it. So 14 times 57 pi divided by 180. I got 13.928 when you round. That's in feet. The second one, I use 0.5. So I go 0.5 times 14. Then I don't have to worry about a fraction. So I go 0.5 times 14 squared times 57 pi divided by 180. And I get 97.494. Because it's area, the sector area, that's going to be feet squared. All right, Mr. G Math over now. Good luck. All right, keep studying, and I believe in you. Believe in yourself. Be good.